Shalom Aleichem Internet, my name is Rabbi Sandra Gazinski, and here is the weekly TorahByte. This week's Torah portion actually opens up right in the middle of a conversation that Moshe is having with God. The Torah portion of last week began the saga of the Jewish people being enslaved for 210 years in Egypt. God reveals himself to Moshe in the land of Midian, in a burning bush, and tells him, "You are going to be my messenger to get the Jewish people freed from the land of Egypt. Confront Pharaoh and tell him, let my people go." Moshe does so. He comes to Pharaoh and he says, "I speak on behalf of the God of Israel. Shalach et ami v'yavduni, let my people go so that they may serve me." To which Pharaoh responds by engaging in extremely aggressive psychological warfare. Not only does Pharaoh flatly refuse to send the Jewish people out, but he actually goes and increases the workload of the Jewish people by demanding from them to match their quota and no longer providing for them ready materials. They would actually have to go and forage and create their own materials and still hit the daily quota. The Jewish people came to Pharaoh and said, "Why is this that you have burdened us even more than you had up until this point?" And Pharaoh responds, "Because apparently you have enough time to sit there and think and fantasize and complain, and you sent me your messenger and said you want out. So if you have enough time to fantasize and complain and send me messengers, then apparently you have enough time to work harder." So he undermines Moshe with his very own people. And in fact, it works. The Jewish people come to Moshe and say, "What is it that you have done? Not only are you not making it better or saving us, the opposite is true. You're burdening us. Since you have came, it's only become more difficult for us." Moshe, facing this challenge from his own people, turns and actually pays the challenge up the line and turns to God and challenges God. He says, "Lama hari'ota ha'lam hazeh lama zeh shlachtani." He says, "Why is it that you are causing so much pain and distress to your people? Why is it that you have sent me? Since you have sent me, it's only become more difficult." And that's the way, actually, that the last week's Torah portion ends. This week's Torah portion opens up with God's response. And the first aspect of the response is not what is going to be the next step in the strategy, but rather to take Moshe to task. And he compares Moshe, or contrasts Moshe, to the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he says, "Va'era el Avraham, el Yitzchak, ve'el Yaakov." I revealed myself to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in a relatively minimal sense. I did not reveal myself to them in the same caliber that I have revealed myself to you, Moshe. And yet, every challenge they faced and every difficulty, they never questioned their faith. They always followed completely to what it is that I asked them to do, and they never lost their faith or their trust. They never questioned me. And yet here, for you, on the very first challenge, the very first difficulty that you face in following my path that I have set forth for you, you come to me and you challenge and you question. Now here's the thing. The challenging and the question that Moshe did was actually right in line with who he was as a person. He was different than the patriarchs. He was Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe the teacher. This was a man who embodied intellect and understanding and wisdom, which is why he was the perfect vessel through which to give the Torah. The Torah being God's wisdom and intellect brought down to be engaged with and absorbed in human understanding and intellect. And it needed the greatest Torah teacher of all time, the man who was the greatest intellect of all time, and that was Moshe. And so the fact that Moshe says, "I need to understand, clarify for me," that's right in line with who he is. So why is it, in a sense, that God is taking him to task? The answer is God is not taking him to task as much as he is instructing him. And he is telling him something that is very important for even us today. That as much as we endeavor to understand and endeavor to apply our intellect and our logic to everything, as well we should. God blessed us with an intellect. He blessed us with an understanding. He's given us the Torah in the realm of intellect and understanding for us to understand as much as possible. But there will always be the elements where God's will and God's understanding is beyond ours. It's deeper than ours. It's infinitely greater than whatever it is that we can understand and perceive. Every time we do understand or perceive something, it's a gift from God. And we say that, "Ata chonein la'adam da'at," you have gifted us with wisdom and understanding. And each time we understand something of God's great master plan, it is a gift. And yet there are times that we will not be able to understand, at which point we have to invoke, in a certain sense, that which we received through our DNA from our patriarchs or matriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, which is faith and trust in God. Every once in a while, we need to just trust. And God turns to Moshe Rabbeinu and says, look, most of the time, your intellect, your logic, your understanding, those are the right tools to bear. And every once in a while, you're just going to have to trust me. And in our own lives, we can all think about those times where things are moving along swimmingly. We understand. We can engage our logic, and it points us in the right direction. And then every once in a while, there are those things that happen to us in our lives where the proper approach is just to say, God, I trust you. I trust that this is what is happening is for the best. I trust that you are guiding me, and that what it is that I am experiencing is something that I need to experience. And while it might be difficult and might be challenging, the first step is a step of faith and trust, a foundation on which I know that for whatever reason this is, it is the best for me. And upon that, I will then try to understand and endeavor to engage my logic into then discerning the best path forward. But sometimes the bedrock, the foundation, needs to be that of simple, pure trust. And this is, in a sense, the opening words of this Torah portion. And its lesson to us is that trust is an extremely powerful thing when the one that you are trusting is God. In fact, it's so powerful that it's on our dollar bills. So, wishing you a Shabbat Shalom, and let us all remember that in God we trust.